Thanks, everybody. Thanks for having me. Thanks, Natalie. It's my job, I suppose, to try to keep you awake after all that potato and beef and stuff. And I'll do my best by talking about the dark net. Right. I'm going to firstly tell you what the dark net is. And by dark net, I mean my book. But I'm not going to talk about just my book. I'm going to talk about a part of my book, which is Tor Hidden Services, what they are and what they do. And I'm going to show you and talk to you about buying drugs on the dark net and crowdfunding murder on the dark net and how those two things work. And if that can't keep you awake, then nothing will. So just briefly, what I tried to do in my book, The Dark Net, it's a bit of a misleading title actually, was just to try to immerse myself in a number of shocking internet subcultures, be they on Facebook, be they on in forums, in chat rooms, anywhere where people meet. The normal internet, some of it was on hidden, encrypted parts of the internet. And what I wanted to try to do was to immerse myself as best I could in these internet subcultures, understand them objectively, and then meet the people that were part of them, and then report it back to the world so everyone could make their judgment about what these places are really like. Because I felt that we hear a lot about internet trolls and digital neo-Nazis and extremists using the net. We hear a lot about suicide sites, pro-anorexia sites, Bitcoin programmers, drugs markets, illegal pornography, and so on. But I felt we never really understood how they actually work, what they're really like, and what the people are like that are in them. So that's what I was trying to do. But I'm not going to go into all of those things, because what's unique in this book is where I went into the Tor Hidden Services. And the Tor Hidden Services are what is often referred to as the dark net. When you hear the word the dark net in the news, it's usually actually talking about Tor Hidden Services. So do you guys know what that is, what they are, how they work? I'll give you the quick rundown. So back in the 90s, US Naval Intelligence wanted a way of browsing the internet without giving away their IP address, their location. Perfectly good reason for them to do that, of course. And they came up with an ingenious piece of software which encrypted an IP address, routed it via several computers around the world, and then came out the other end so that the person running the website that you're trying to access wouldn't know where the original request came from, and neither really would anybody in the middle, because it was routed via a number of different computers. And every computer in that little network, in that little set of hops that would be made, only knew the one in front of them and the one before them. So it was basically a way of obscuring an IP address. Now the US Naval, this is amazing. This is an incredible piece of engineering. Beautiful, really elegant, and it really works. The only problem, if you're a US Naval Intelligence officer, is that you're the only person that's using this in the world. So the Russians can work out very quickly that it's you. What a waste of time. It's worse, in fact. So they decided to open source this, allow anybody to use it, and people started to develop it. And it became a really valuable tool for free speech activists, for people worried about privacy, for people worried about censorship, because of the way that routing system works. It allows you to circumnavigate sort of network-level blocking, and it also allows you to sort of maintain some degree of privacy over your internet browsing. This is incredible, and the use of that browser, the Tor Browser, the onion router it stood for, grew quite quickly and was especially valuable in the 2011 Arab uprisings and elsewhere, and it's continued to grow ever since. That's for the normal internet. This browser is easy to use. You can use it on the normal internet. But at some point, and I don't know when exactly, some people realized that if we use the same clever protocols, we can also mask the server location of a website as well. And so it will become very, very difficult. When you want to take a website offline, you need to actually know sort of physically where it is, where's it hosted, where's the server. But if you use this system, it's very hard to locate the server, which means it's very hard to censor or very hard to remove stuff. And quickly, this sort of alternative encrypted net that you accessed with your browser, your Tor browser, started to grow. People realized it was an amazing place to go to discuss things, to share stuff, legal and illegal, without being monitored. And so it became something like a sort of censorship-free world visited by anonymous users. This darknet, these Tor Hidden Services. We don't know how many of these sites there are. Estimates have ranged from, the most recent is something like 5,000 up to about 60,000. URLs are a string of pretty meaningless numbers and letters that end in .onion. You access it with this browser. You tend to start off at a sort of index page that lists all the different sites that are available there, and off you go. Now, naturally enough, it became a place for anybody with something to hide, or that didn't want to be found. And that does not mean only illegal stuff, of course. So on the dark net, you will find plenty of whistleblower sites. The New Yorker has a whistleblower site. The WikiLeaks cache is all there. You will find pirated books. The darknet, the book is available on a darknet pirated website, naturally enough. But you'd also find darknet anonymous markets, assassination markets, illegal pornography, commercial hacking services, and much else besides. So it really is a kind of gives you the full panoply of what people can do under the conditions of freedom and anonymity, both good and bad. And in my book, I was looking particularly at these markets and these marketplaces, these darknet markets and how they operate. And I want to tell you a story about them because one of the amazing things about this darknet is that it's not how you imagine it. It's unbelievably creative. And it's unbelievably creative because it's on the fringes and operating in such inhospitable circumstances. And that's the story of the Silk Road. So, you guys familiar with the Silk Road? If you haven't heard of the Tor network and the hidden services, you might have heard of the Silk Road, the drugs market. Actually, it's not a drugs market, it's an anonymous market. There's about 20 of these in operation at the moment, where more or less anything can be bought and sold. And I'm going to show you how you actually buy stuff on there and how it works, because it's not how people imagine at all. Right, let's see if I can get this slide up. Right, so the first thing you would notice about the Silk Road, this is the original Silk Road. This was shut down. It was then reopened as the Silk Road 2. God knows what iteration it's on now, but all of these sites operate more or less the same. So you get your browser, you find the Silk Road site, and you start browsing. And the first thing you notice is, well, isn't it rather familiar? Doesn't it look like any other e-commerce site? Because you have every single product has a glossy picture, that's high quality cocaine apparently, I've got no idea, has a price, has information about the vendor, fits into a number of categories, but look at this is the one I really like. You've got a little proceed to checkout trolley. The best one of all is this button. Bought this item. So what you do is you browse through the site, make your choice, you pay with the cryptocurrency Bitcoin, which is easy to transfer into normal money, and then you wait for your product to arrive in the post. It's really simple as that, and it always does arrive, nearly always. And the reason it arrives is not because of all this clever encryption stuff, it's not because of that at all. It's because of the user review system. So every single person that sells products here uses a pseudonym, naturally enough, but always maintains the same pseudonym in order to build up a reputation. Because when everything's anonymous, you need some way of trying to judge who to spend your money on. And so everyone leaves detailed reviews about the product. How quickly did it arrive? How polite was the vendor? How good was the quality of the product? Was it stealthily packaged? Was it as described? And so on. Now what this does, because you have suddenly a wealth of information about the vendor and the product, and you have genuine competition and choice because you have hundreds of other vendors that are operating on this site, Well, you can sort of guess what tends to happen. The quality of the products start to go up, and the price of the product starts to go down. And vendors are desperate for your custom. And so they will constantly be offering you buy one, get one free deals, loyalty card systems, and all the rest. Anything to make sure you give a piece of positive feedback, because that's the only way of ensuring that you're going to go and buy anything from their store. There's been reports that cocaine sold, like this one on the Silk Road, is up to 90% purity. Now, I don't know if that means anything to you, but the average street purity of cocaine in the UK is somewhere between about 2 and 30%, mixed with all sorts of other shit. Some cocaine apparently has been as high as 95% purity, which apparently has to be engineered to get to that level of purity. Like, these vendors are actually trying to make it more pure than it ordinarily would be. I mean, a remarkable, remarkable state of affairs. So, I got in touch with a number of vendors when I was doing the research for this.